Good evening. I'm newly appointed Sergeant Candidate 123. I recently met with my lieutenant regarding one of my subordinates who's had substandard performance lately. The problems and issues that were brought to my attention were: one, he's shown up to roll call late on October 11th, 12th, and 14th. Second, he's failed his last uniform and personnel inspection. And lastly, he's been consistently turning in incorrect reports. Just 3 months ago, this officer was Officer of the Month. My objective is going to be to establish effective communication with my subordinate regarding his recessive behavior and performance. I'm going to identify the causes of the behavior so that I can implement resolutions to resolve his issues, along with his agreement. Those issues being his 3 tardies to roll call, his failed inspection, as well as his incorrect reports that have been submitted for correction. Prior to meeting with the subordinate, I'm going to meet with his previous sergeant to gather a better picture of his character and his past performances. I'm also going to pull his personnel file to read up on his previous performance as well. I'll then schedule a meeting with the subordinate prior to roll call. At this meeting, I'm going to introduce myself and explain that my role as his new sergeant is to be a good guide, counselor, and a good coach. I'm also going to congratulate him on being Officer of the Month 3 months ago. I'm then going to discuss the problems that were brought to my attention regarding his behavior. I'm going to explain to him that he was late to roll call on October 11th, 12th, and the 14th. I'm also going to advise him that I'm aware of the issue of him failing his last uniform inspection, as well as consistently submitting incorrect reports. I'm then going to explain to the officer that I'm here to help and try to probe into determining the underlying issues that is occurring with the officer. Depending on his answer and his response to my probing, if he's having a personal crisis, such as at home with his marriage or his children, I'm going to advise him of our peer support, our psych services, as well as our psychologists used via our insurance. Next, I'm going to explain that starting immediately, he will be assigned to a senior police officer for mentoring for the next 30 days. This is to ensure that he's held accountable for being on time to roll call, as well as to show him how an officer is supposed to have his uniform and all of his gear ready and presentable for work each day. I will meet with him after each shift, as well as his mentor, to discuss his performance for that day, as well as read all reports turned in. I'm going to explain to him the importance of turning in a correct report, because things such as false charges on a suspect or life or death for a domestic violence victim could occur. We will meet again at the end of the 30 days to discuss additional resolutions if this does not work with him riding with the mentor. Additionally, I will immediately sign him up for a field training refresher course. I will put him in the class for the next day, so that prior to him starting with his mentor, he's had a refresher course in what is expected of him during his shift as patrol. After the refresher course with field training, I will meet with the field training instructor to discuss his performance in class, his behavior, as well as his demeanor. After I meet with the field trainer, I will then meet with the officer to discuss his thoughts, feelings, and how he felt he performed during the refresher. After this, I will send an email to my lieutenant to explain the actions I've taken and the resolutions the officer and I have decided to implement in addition. We're going to implement because of his actions. I will also generate and maintain a working file on the officer with all associated notes, paperwork, as well as documented of my important action taken. In summary, after being apprised of the performance issues regarding my subordinate, with him being late to roll call 3 times, specifically on October 11th, 12th, and the 14th, as well as failing his last uniform inspection and submitting incorrect reports constantly, I met with his previous sergeant to gain a better understanding of his character and his previous performances. I also reviewed his personnel file prior to meeting with the subordinate. After introducing myself to the subordinate and establishing a rapport with him, I expressed and empathized with him for going through a personal crisis or experiencing something that is introducing this recessive behavior. We have agreed that he will complete a refresher course with the field training program, as well as ride with a senior police officer for mentoring for 30 days. We have also agreed that after each shift, I will meet with the mentor and my subordinate regarding his performances for that day and read his reports to monitor the reports for corrections and making sure that his reports are correct. After meeting with the field training instructor, I will meet with the officer to discuss his performance as well as his behavior and his demeanor during his refresher course. After emailing my lieutenant to explain to him the actions that I've taken, I created and maintained a working document file for the officer with all my pertinent notes and actions taken. This concludes my briefing with my subordinate.